everyone, and welcome to another video. Today is a sunny day in January, and I'm here outside on my deck bringing you guys another video. And today's video is about the good surprise of God and the coronavirus crisis. I know I'm behind in all the topics that I want to discuss in my videos, but I'm catching up, and all of them to me seem important for me to discuss and post. The good surprise of God and the coronavirus. As the coronavirus situation stands, things don't look good. The virus is killing thousands of Americans as viruses do. The economy is in free fall, hemorrhaging trillions of dollars from lost jobs. The nation is saddled with debt coming from a $2.3 trillion fiscal relief package. The Fed injects an additional $2.3 trillion into the economy, buying bonds from state and local governments and corporations. Much more packages with similar price tags are in the pipeline. Of course, because a lot of everything in the economy kind of went down and stopped because of the pandemic, when everything had to shut down. So they had to bring back money and help everybody in the economy so things would regenerate itself and we'd get back on track financially as a city, as a state, and as a country. Abortion clinics and marijuana dispensaries are open as essential businesses. Churches are closed and the sacraments hardly administered in America and most of the world. All these developments point to medical, economic, and spiritual disasters. I mean, of course, it's up to the priest if they want to go to fellow parishioners' houses and administer them communion, but as a church, you're not able to gather together and worship. There were videos made of Mass that was still held with just the priest and maybe a singer or just the priest by itself, him making the video or someone there doing the video work for him. Adding to the woes of the future, the liberal, secular establishment has already warned that things will not return to normal. The coronavirus crisis will alter forever the world order, threatens Henry Kissinger in the Wall Street Journal. We are told to prepare to embrace a chilling post-corona future which reads like a wish list of everything on their liberal agenda. To those engaged in the fight for Christian culture, it seems that little can be done to stop this crashing disaster. Everything seems disproportionate to the means at hand. Only one factor stands outside the spectacle, that factor of God. Well, God made it happen that we could go back to church and worship, and we could have a semi-normal life again. But everybody, of course, that are immune compromised or have issues here and there will forever have to be forever careful for the rest of their lives. His exclusion is not something new. There are times in history when the cause of the church seems lost. All world powers are arrayed and ready to hit down the road to disaster without God or the church. They seem to rely upon their own resources, blunt their pride, and push their agendas. Of course, people in the government, they're not gonna care about the church and people and their religion. They put their relief efforts in other directions. Even those who are God-fearing, they sometimes don't think of putting that God first. This seems to be one of those times, the surprises of God, and yet all is not lost. In times like these, God sometimes has his surprises that confound the designs of secular officials, scientists, and politicians. When least expected, their plans start to go wrong. The unexpected happens. Of course, without God as the center of everything, God can make things go in the direction you don't want it to go. But you never realize that it's God that's making that happen. You never think, well, I didn't do this in the favor of God, so this happened to me. You never think about that. You always think, oh, it's just something else. What usually triggers the surprises of God are fervent souls that raise their voices to heaven, asking his aid. Such souls are not recorded on worldly registers, but weigh heavenly on heavenly scales. Of course. Sorry for that moment of loss. Something popped up on my screen while I was filming. Anyway, you don't realize that those who prayed to God for miracles to happen, He made them happen. Those people who never prayed or who never believed just think it's an act of pure luck and pure thanks to other things. But of course, God is the basis of what makes things happen, good or bad. By all accounts, America should no longer have these fervent souls. As the nation on the cutting edge of modernity and the sexual revolution, they should have been wiped out long ago. Kissinger would have us embrace our secular, post-corona future enthusiastically without God. While those who don't believe or have little faith, of course they're not gonna put God first. Excuse me. And put other people forward, not God. When he's the one behind all things that are good. An ever greater uneasiness. Such movements toward God express an even greater uneasiness with a situation that worsens daily. People are losing faith in the ability of politicians and technocrats to dominate the virus. They are confused by the media that create panic and alarm around the issue to the point that it becomes almost impossible to understand correctly and prioritize intelligently. Of course, you just pray to God that he will bless people in the right direction towards betterment in the coronavirus crisis. The shutting down of the economy threatens to make the cure worse than the disease. Above all, the shuttering of the churches has led many to question why are officials quarantining God. Of course, well, they didn't want the virus to spread, and they said everything has to close. But, I mean, churches shouldn't, per se, remain closed. They should be open, and each individual to choose how they are going to go worship, because everyone knows how to keep themselves safe. And, I mean, if you want to risk it, go to church. You pray to God to keep you safe. Because, in my view, that's all there is. He's the one that blesses the people to help in that endeavor. However, despite everything, America remains a religious nation. And in this time of tribulation caused by the coronavirus crisis, many Americans are turning to God. Recent poll claims that almost half of all Americans, 44%, see the coronavirus as a wake-up call to return to God or even as a sign of the last days. More than half of the population, 55%, has prayed to God for an end to the crisis. Yes, if you're quarantined at home and you don't leave your house, aside from work that you have to do and other things, those who have been led astray or left the side of God, they're coming more towards God. Probably they end up praying more because they want a renewed future and to be uplifted from this bad situation. And they start praying more, looking into God, going back to church, reading more in religion, and diving into their spirituality. It's sad that a crisis has to happen for more people to return to God or for more people to turn to God for the first time in their lives. But, that's always how it ends up being. And no matter what, I'm happy that for whatever reason people turn to God, as long as they do. An ever greater uneasiness. Such movement toward God express an even greater uneasiness in the... Most people have not converted. They are not yet asking for His aid with great fervor. However, they are looking in God's direction. With each passing day, more wonder if the solution might come from Him. Yes, of course, people are asking and questioning. Maybe they were looking into it, and then once everything went back to normal, they forgot about it all and returned back to their normal lives. And that is sad, to say the least, because for me, that's disheartening. Preparing for the surprises of God. When enough people change, the surprise of God can occur. God hears the cries of His people and can respond for their better good. God writes straight with crooked lines. Thus, His action may not be the instant resolution of the problem, since suffering often brings out the best in people and unites them to God. His solution might be different from what we imagine, and they are always much better. God hears our prayers and answers them for His greater glory to our God. We may not realize whether God is answering our prayers or not, but if we look deep into our heart and search for it, we can see ways in our lives and in the world where God answers our prayers. In other ways, God may not be answering the prayers that we want, but I guess there's always a need for suffering as well, which is sad, but I don't think there will be an ever end to all the suffering in the world. Well, thank you for listening to my video, and I will see you again in the next one. Have a great day.